second half of our subtracting rational numbers, and really we're going to touch base on adding and subtracting rational numbers today. Over the last two lessons, we learned how to use the addition rules for adding integers. Then we learned the other day how to subtract using integers in the integer number system. Now we're going to look at and extend that to the rational number system where we have fractions and decimals and see how that applies. So let's go ahead and take a look at that. So our simple goal today is that we can subtract in the rational number system. Okay, so the first thing we got to talk about is how do we work with decimals. So a lot of this goes back to what you were learning last unit, okay? We learned the first thing we have to do is to line up our decimal places. Okay, or decimal point, decimal places, helps if I can spell. And then after that, now this is where we get a new step, because this used to be all you had to do is line them up and solve. Now we're going to have to follow our addition rules. Okay, now to be fair, our addition rules are pretty simple. Okay, and we're going to look at, that's the same rules we learned today. If you have the same signs, you're going to add. If you have different signs, you're going to subtract. Okay, you're going to subtract and keep the sign with a greater absolute value. ABS is our shortcut for value, absolute value. Okay, so as we practice through that, let's take a look at what that looks like. So I'm going to have you guys pause the video and try questions for A and C, and then we'll go over those answers in just a second, and I'll have you guys, if you get them, if you want to go ahead and just do all four, you can, and we'll talk about those too. All right, so now that we've had a chance to look at those, let's go ahead and have you guys try them. So these are same signs. So I'm going to just write same up here. I know it's hard to see. So we're going to add them. So it's just simply going to be 9 and 23 hundredths plus 3 and 75 hundredths. And we're going to get 12 and 98 hundredths. There's our answer. Again, sorry about the sideways notes. So we jump down here. This is where we change the rules a little bit. We're going to look at, if we line these up right away, that's perfectly fine. I know that I'm going to use my addition rules, so I'm going to set it up where it's 15 and 67 hundredths here on the bottom. Because now I'm going to really go, okay, it's plus a negative number, so I'm going to subtract. 0 minus 7, I've got to borrow, so make that 10. Put my 3 in here. 3, we have 8 here. 8 minus 6 is 2. Borrow again. 13 minus 5 is 8. 3 minus 1 is 2. So 28 and 23 hundredths is my answer. So it's just being careful that we set that up. So one of the things you might want to think about is when you have those different signs, you go ahead and make sure you set up the greater absolute value on top if you have that choice. Just like D, okay? So go ahead and if you haven't done all of them, pause the video and try B and D. Now that you've had a chance to look at them, and then start the video again and you guys can take a look at those answers. All right, so again, these are those same signs, so we're going to add them even though they're negatives. It's negative 7.87 hundredths, and you're going to add the negative 5 and 42 hundredths. Almost looks like my negative is connected to the plus sign. So 6, 2 carry the 1, I get 13 and negative 13 and 26 hundredths. Okay. We work our way down the same here. We followed that same rule. Hey, look, it's already kind of set up for us. It's going to be plus a negative, so they're opposite signs. So I'm actually going to subtract 8 minus 0 is 8. 5 minus 0 is 5, 6 minus 1 is 5, 9 minus 3 is 6, so it's 46 and 558 thousandths. And again, it's positive because my greater absolute value is on D. Now, we can do the same thing with our word problems, okay? So take a few seconds and take a look at how that was set up. But before you pause it, let's talk a little bit about what I really want you to look at is what words mean negative. So if you think about this for a second, you probably go automatically to paid. We're really going to focus on money. Paid or debit. I've heard that word before in class. Debit, not debit. Lost, give. All of these are going to be words that trigger, and you might even come up with a few more. Could all be ones that trigger a negative number. Okay, so here we don't have that. He has, need a different color pen. He has $40.32. She gives him another $5.75. Mrs. Hart also gives him that $10.08. So what you're going to set that up to do is you're simply going to have all positive numbers. So you're going to add. You'd end up getting $40.32 plus $10.08 plus $5.75. So you get, 15, carry the 1. That's 10, 11, carry the 1. 6, $56.15. Okay? All right, now, what are those different steps to subtract decimals? So we know that a lot of those rules are going to be exactly the same, but the biggest difference is the idea that we have to keep in mind that we have to use our keep change op. We've got to add the opposite. Okay? Just like we talked about multiplying by the inverse, by the reciprocal, we're going to add the opposite. So the first thing you need to look at before you do anything else is I'm going to do my keep change op. Okay, we're going to change it and we're going to add the inverse. And then from there we go, okay, now I've done that, I'm going to set up and follow my addition rules. Same as the other page. Okay? We're going to do same signs, add, different signs, subtract. So that's going to help us set up, and then we're going to line up our decimal places. You could even switch that up a little bit on your first addition and line up the decimal places after you follow your addition rules. Okay, so if we work through that, go ahead this time. I'm going to have you try to do all 4 of these, and then pause the video and try all 4 of these before you move on. Now that we've had a little bit of practice, then we'll talk about the answers. All right, now that you've had a chance to do all of them, let's kind of walk through the answers. So we're going to do a keep change up. So $12.32 plus a negative $5.75. So really we're subtracting, so we take away $5.72, 75 cents, sorry. Borrow at 7, borrow again to make it 12. That's 5. Hey, we're going to have to borrow again, make this 11. 11 minus 5 is $6.57. It's not $6, just $6, 6 and 57 hundredths. We move over here, we're going to take a look at the same thing, negative 32, that's our keep. Change it to addition and take the opposite of this. And again, remember, it kind of even looks like a plus sign right here. That's how my brain works. And $15 and 15.3. So now I'm going to do my same subtraction. So 32 and 7 tenths minus 15 and 3 tenths. So 7 minus 3 is 4. Borrow again, that's 12 minus 5 is 7. And 2 minus 1 is 7. And then our greater absolute value here is the negative. So I'm going to have a negative 17 and 4 tenths. Okay, working over here on the same problem. This time I'm going to do the work. So I'm at 84 and 456 thousandths plus a negative 45 and 78 hundredths. So again, we're going to do that same subtraction. Sorry, not 45, 70, 45 and 78 hundredths. We're going to add that 0 so we can have our decimal places all set up. 6 minus 0 is 6. Got to borrow. 15 minus 6 is 7. You have to borrow again for 3, 13. 13 minus 7 is 6. There's my decimal place. One more borrow. 13 minus 5 is 8. 7 minus 4 is 3. My brain was not working for a second. So it's 38 and 676 thousandths. And finally, our last one. It's very similar. I'm going to do my keep. 123 and 56 hundredths plus a negative 10 and 4 tenths. So this one's a little easier. There's not going to be any borrowing on this one. 6 minus 0 is 6. 5 minus 4 is 1. 3, 113, and 16 hundredths. So it's all about setting up and then lining up the decimal places. Okay? All right, now let's move on to the next idea of rational numbers after you try your last word problem. Think about what we did in our first one. Are there any negatives? Are there any phrases in here that are negative as we work through the problem? So you would have set this up. You know that it's $64.55 minus $55.76. So you're going to do your keep change up. So you're going to subtract 55 and 76 hundredths. Apologize for the sideways handwriting. Borrow, that's 9. Borrow again. Do all our borrows at once just to make my life faster. 7, 14 minus 7 is 7, 13 minus 5 is 8, and then 5 minus 5 is 0. So the price increase was $8.79. Later in the year, we'll take a look and see how much did that price change, what percent increase did we have on this one. So we can see how much did the Steelers raise their game, and was it really worth going to a Steelers game? My answer is no. but I'm a Browns fan. So that could be why. All right, so now how do we add fractions? Now, what do we look at here? How do I add a fraction? Well, the first thing I've got to do, we know the key to fractions is what? Your lowest common denominator. Okay, that's the first thing you got to do. Once you do that, you create your equivalent fractions. Okay, so simply going and taking 1/2 and changing it to 2/4 if you needed to have a common denominator of 4. Once you've done that, now you have the correct fractions you can use, and you're going to use your addition rules. Okay, same as we've been doing all the time. Same signs add, different signs subtract. And then finally, the last one, and we're going to use the word simplify. And we talked about that in class, but it's really that I need to use the lowest terms. Instead of saying reduce or lowest terms possible, you're going to simply say simplify, because that implies that both those concepts, because you can make it the fewest numbers and the smallest values possible to keep their same relationship. All right, so go ahead and pause the video and try these 4 problems, and then we'll check them together. All right, so the first one's a pretty good setup. It's already got our common denominators, so I don't have to create equivalent fractions. We're just going to add 6/2 and then simplify to get 3, because we had the same signs. Here again, we have same signs, but we have to create a common denominator, and the common denominator is 8. So let's create our equivalent fraction. Okay, so 4 times 8 is 2. 4 times 2 is 8. So we're going to multiply -2, 1. That's so we get -2. Same signs, we're going to add -3 and -2 is -5/8. And we'll talk more about the multiplication rules tomorrow, but that gets us a good start. So our number C is 42 is our common denominator, because we know this is composite, that's prime, and when the prime doesn't go into the composite, you know you've got just to multiply them together. So you get 35/6 and 18/42, and you're going to add them together. Again, these same signs. So we're going to choose to add. I get 53/42, and then we know we can't have improper fractions. So it becomes 1 and 11/42. There's our final answer. All right, last one we're here. This time now don't have common denominator, so we're going to create that. 5 times 3, hey, that's 15. Again, we have 2 prime numbers this time, so they're always going to be multiplied together. And then we're going to say, okay, that makes this 6/15, and this makes this one -25/15. Now we're going to think, okay, it really means subtract. So 25 minus 6 is 19, and the greater absolute value is 19, or 25, so that's going to be it, over 15. I'm going to come up here for my next step. And then we have to simplify it down to -1 4/15. When you have a mixed number, your negative always lives out in front of the whole number, okay? All right, last one to look at is how to subtract. So you notice there's just one more step on both the addition of decimals and subtraction, and it's going to be that same step here. And you're going to follow the same pattern. You're going to go ahead and start by finding your LCD, your lowest common denominator. You're going to equate your equivalent fractions, okay? But instead of writing right to your addition rules, you're going to do keep change up to turn your equations to addition. Then your addition rules, just like the last one, and then you're finally going to simplify. So we've got 5 steps, and a lot of these can be put together, but this is the way we want to think through our problems. All right, pause the video, try these last 4, and then we will be done for this lesson. All right, so again, same here. We've got to use our keep change op, 1/4 plus a -3/4. I'm going to use our addition rules. Okay, so we're going to subtract. 3 minus 1 is 2. Our greater absolute value, again, is right there on -3, so it's negative. We're going to go ahead and simplify down to a -1/2. Same here. Create that common denominator. This time it's going to be 6, so this will be 10/6 minus 2/6. We'll do our keep change op, so keep change, take the opposite. 10 minus 2 is 8. Greater absolute value again is 10. So that's going to simplify to 1 1/3. All right, working our way to the next one. So create our common denominator, 40. And that's going to be 35. This one's going to be 48. And we do our keep change op. So if it's negative here, or subtraction, we're going to make it positive and make the second term the opposite of the negative. So again, we've got that same subtraction. 48 minus 35 is -13/48. over 40, and that's as simple as it goes because 13 is a prime number. And then we're finishing out the last one. 70 is our common denominator, just like you guys came up with. Okay, and that makes this a negative 21, makes this a negative 50. So we're going to say subtract, so we're going to keep, change this to addition, take the opposite of negative 50, we'll make that positive 50. So we have different signs again. 50 minus 21 is 29. The greater of opposite values on the positive, so it's 29 over 70. So now you guys have had a quick review of how to add and subtract rational numbers using that negative system. It gives you a good handle for what we're going to be doing as we continue to work with negatives for the rest of our mathematical career. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out. I'm happy to work with you and see you for a help session.